The life that we enjoy today demands a life giver. In the previous lesson, we have learned that nothing comes into existence from nothing. Neither the modern day inventions nor the coronavirus spontaneously generated. Everyone believes this to be true, even the scientists, whether theists or atheists. In this video, let us consider another evidence that will help us come up with a right conclusion that an eternal supernatural creator exists. Let's get to the video. The law of biogenesis, one of the most widely recognized laws of science, deals with the beginning of life. And it simply says that in nature, life comes only from previous life of its own kind. Biogenesis is composed of two words, bio, which means life, and genesis, which means beginning. The truthfulness of this law has been documented by thousands of scientists over the years. Louis Pasteur was one of the most notable scientists who gave a crushing blow to the notion of spontaneous generation. In 1933, evolutionist John Sullivan admitted that it became an accepted doctrine that life never arises except from life. So far as the actual evidence goes, this is still the only possible conclusion. Okay, but that was 1933. As we move further into the 20th century, the obvious question was, is it still the only possible conclusion? What have we learned since the days of Louis Pasteur in the 19th century and John Sullivan in the first half of the 20th century? Observational science has reached the same conclusion experiment after experiment, year after year. The eminent evolutionist George Gaylord Simpson and his colleagues observed that there is no serious doubt that biogenesis is the rule that life comes only from other life, that a cell, the unit of life, is always and exclusively the product of offspring of another cell. Evolutionist Martin Moe noted that a century of sensational discoveries in the biological sciences has taught us that life arises only from life. More recently, staunch evolutionist Neil Chauvin conceded in his book titled Your Inner Fish. I can share with you one true law that all of us can agree upon. This law is so profound that most of us take it completely for granted, yet it is the starting point for almost everything we do in paleontology, developmental biology, and genetics. This biological law of everything is that every living thing on the planet had parents. Every person you've ever known has biological parents, as does every bird, salamander, or shark you've ever seen. To put it in a more precise form, every living thing sprang from some parental genetic information. The importance of Chauvin's concession must not be missed. He recognizes that the actual scientific information verifies that life in the natural world must have come from previously existing life. Yet, he refuses to carry that fact to its proper conclusion that life could not have sprung from non-living chemicals. Materialistic evolution cannot adequately account for or explain the most basic laws of science, not the least of which is the law of biogenesis. If it is the case that the only possible conclusion which scientific demands is that in nature, life never arises except from life, then pray tell, how did the first life come into being? Did it somehow break the most fundamental natural law of biology and arise naturally from non-life? Or is there another possibility? The truth is, there is another possibility which science has not disproved, but one which evolutionists such as John Sullivan admitted that scientific men find very difficult of acceptance. According to Sullivan, biogenesis is still the only possible conclusion, but it is a conclusion that seems to lead back to some supernatural creative act. Do not miss the point. Real, true operational science indirectly supports a supernatural creative act, which implies a supernatural creator. Evolutionist and Harvard University professor George Wald similarly admitted in an article he wrote entitled The Origin of Life, says that there ultimately are two options for life's origin: spontaneous generation, and the only alternative to believe in a single primary act of supernatural creation. There is no third person. Sadly, though, most modern biologists, having reviewed with satisfaction the downfall of the spontaneous generation hypothesis, they are unwilling to accept the alternative belief in special creation. Rather than follow the evidence where it ultimately leads to a supernatural creator, atheists would rather put their confidence in theory that was disproven long ago. Anthony Flew, who for 5 decades was the world's leading atheistic thinker, was forced in the end to conclude the only satisfactory explanation for the origin of such undirected, self-replicating life as we see on Earth is an infinitely intelligent mind. And in my next video, I'll show you another reason why we should believe in God. And if you don't want to miss this video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and click that notification bell below for more updates. And I also want to interact with you. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future topics, please write your comments below. I look forward to meeting you and seeing you in the polls. Cheers!